All right, guys, so on this E90 oil pan here, it's not a DIY video about how to remove the subframe or anything like that. That's already in my other video if you want to look at that. But on this one, it's still slightly different on the N55s, where you have to remove the power steering pump. Here you don't have to do that. You just move these hoses out of the way. What you do have to do is these transmission lines, you just have to disconnect them right here and over there at the oil pan. It's just little 2 10mm bolts, and just bend them out the way a little bit. You don't have to actually remove them altogether from the transmission. See, they're right here. So here's a little 10mm bolt. What you're gonna want to do though is check your pickup for debris. Make sure there's nothing in there, and then clean these surfaces with like that wet sandpaper I'll show you in a second to make sure this is perfectly clean. And then I'll show you here. There was a crack here in this oil pan, and I'm not sure if it was seeping or not, but I don't want to take the risk, because look, it goes all the way through. It's in the same spot right here. It goes all the way through, and I'm not sure. It was like caked in oil. This whole thing was just puking oil everywhere. So what I did was I went with a new pan, and make sure that the gasket is OE from Germany. Okay, so don't buy some Taiwan. This came in the kit, and I'm not going to use it because it's from Taiwan, and I don't want to risk it leaking again in 10-15,000 miles for this guy. You're going to need some new bolts. Okay, what I do is I put a couple zip ties here, here, and here as usual, just to hold the gasket in place while you're putting it in. Also, our oil level sensor, we had a fault for it, so I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm just putting a new sensor in to get that fault taken care of. I actually think it's because there was so much oil. Oil actually was inside the connector, causing a short. So I'm not going to mess with it for this time. I'm going to just replace the oil level sensor. Just 3 10mm bolts, very easy. And there's a new gasket that I'll show you. And then last but not least, there's this plug. I'm not sure what this is for. I believe it's for the fill from the factory. Potentially, possibly. But there's a gasket there I'll show you. That's just a little plastic plug. So make sure you transfer that. There's the old gasket right there. And that's it, guys. It's by Reen Automotive, so hopefully it lasts. And you're also going to want to clean the surfaces here. I'll show you in a second. All right, so during installation of the new oil pan with the gasket, I managed to just tap this, literally just tap it very gently, and this whole thing snapped. Just snapped off because it's old plastic. There's your oil pickup tube. There's a little strainer inside, like that, and then there's an O-ring there. So what I ended up doing is just ordering a new one. Now the bolts that come off of it are aluminum, and they must be replaced. They're right here. So I had to order, unfortunately they don't sell them separately, I had to order a set of bolts. Here's the part number, ends in 472. So gonna bolt this guy back up, nice and clean inside. It's a cheap part. So what I would recommend is, even if yours is not broken, they're so brittle over time when this heats up, I would actually recommend replacing it anyway, because you already done all this work to get to it. You might as well swap it out for a new pickup tube that's not clogged up and it's clean. So yeah, real easy, just 3 bolts. I'll show you in a second. It goes over here like that. There you go. So real easy to put on, and you got to put a bunch of O-ring lubricant on here, and on that O-ring right there, put O-ring lubricant so that it slides in to your pump nice and easy. So the torque spec is 4 Newton meters plus 90. So here's 4. That's 4, and then plus, I think they said 100 degrees, but I always go to 9. The oil level sensor here gets torqued to 8 Newton meters. And I don't know if you can focus for you there. So 8 Newton meters, very carefully. All right, so all the bolts are in. They are at 8 Newton meters plus 150. You're gonna have to get a little creative with some extensions on the other side. This side is fairly easy, and what I like to do is mark all of them after they've been torqued to spec. The other thing I like to do is put some CU 800 paste in the mounting points and for the engine mounts, as you can see right there and down there. Same on this side. And then what I also like to do is put a little bit of the CU 800 paste on the actual steering rack right there, and also right here. Focus for you guys. And also here. So basically, you're gonna have to clean this connector because it's probably gonna be full of oil. So use just any preference you have of electro contact cleaner. I use CRC. These also torque to 8 Newton meters here. What else? These you reuse in the back. These 2 bolts for the bracket you're gonna reuse because they're steel, not aluminum. I believe they're 18 Newton meters, and then all the aluminum ones are 8 plus 180. So yeah, that's it. A couple helpful tips for you guys doing this at home. If you are doing it, you see that little line right there? So that line right there is for your transmission lines. See how there's a 10 mil bolt right there? So go ahead and tighten that guy up while the subframe is still lowered, and then there's one right here. Okay, then when you put the subframe up, don't put it up all the way right away. The first thing you're gonna do is line up the rear bolts. Put those 2 rear bolts in on each side. Okay, then what you're gonna do is tighten your steering rack bolts, which are right here. So tighten those up because you can get easy access from the top for that 16 mil. Tighten both of them up on each side, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're going to connect the steering rack. You see that right there? Okay, the T10. You got plenty of clearance right now. This you see the subframe is not connected all the way. You have plenty of clearance right now to connect that rack. Do that now, and then align these bolts here. Okay. Don't forget, you got 3 screws. 1 screw right here. You see this? 1 screw right here, right there, and then one right here. This is a perfect time before the subframe's all the way up to put those together. These two I put in from the top with a long extension, and that one right there I just do it from underneath. See how much room there is right now? Super easy. All right, so the oil pan is done, subframe is in, and last but not least, tighten up your control arms and connect your sway bar link, connect your oil level sensor, connect these back into their little bracket, and fill it up with oil, start the car, run it for like an hour, make sure there's no leaks anywhere, and then clean all your under trays and put everything back. Should be good. Oh yeah, this little plastic piece, don't forget that guy. Everything's good, I think. This is connected. This bracket's already connected. 3 bolts.